Well, I mean, I think I mentioned earlier on that one of the tragedies is that the council have singularly failed to deliver a whole series of major projects, and the town hall is amongst them. And that's for a combination of reasons, not least of which is that the staff at the council has been cut to the bone. And let's be absolutely clear about that. That is a factor as part of this process. But of course, the other part of it is about actually how you organise and the leadership and strategy that you set. And where does the strategy and the leadership set? It sets with, I'm sorry, it's a political point, it's the Conservative leadership of this North Arts Council, and that's why that needs to change when you go to the ballot boxes in May.
Thank you. All the councillors here, I only want to hear from the ones that what are you going to do differently in the next month that you have not been doing for the last 7 years while this whole fiasco has gone on around you and you have been watching it happen around you. So I only want to hear from those, and I don't want to hear, well, we want this, we would like this, this should happen. I want to know specifically only from those members, councillors, who are going to do something different in the next month that they have not done for the last 6 or 7 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think yes, when I indicated earlier, we have a group meeting next week, so we can have that discussion in there. It's difficult for us on this panel because we are backbench councillors, so we don't get to sit in the executive meeting. We don't have that option. The latest decisions have not come to full council, which is where we get the opportunity to speak on them and vote. What will I be doing differently? If the negotiations on the 2nd of February do not come to the fruition that they have, that we all hope that outcome will be, it will no doubt come back to full council, because it was full council that 2 years ago resolved 2 officers to acquire 14 and 50. And obviously they have failed to do that through negotiation route, which is what we voted on for them to go and do. I believe they will have to bring that back to full council if they're going to go down the CPO route. So at least we will have that debate and we'll have that vote. That, I believe, will actually bring more of this project back to the full council, as opposed to it just being in the hands of the cabinet. Yes, I've been on the council throughout this saga. In the initial stages, I was actually a trustee of the Working Men's Hall, so I didn't vote on the project. I was one of the trustees looking after the interest, because it was complex, as David Bennett said at the beginning. It was a very complex arrangement between 3 parties. The council, Hitchin Town Hall Limited, that was set up. Their objective is to save the De Montfort Hall, and everybody that's associated with Hitchin Town Hall Limited can be, I think, pat themselves on the back. They reached the objective. They got the objective that they set out to achieve. And of course, the other party was the council. It was a very complex development agreement, and it went wrong. Going forward, we have to learn lessons about that. And I think from a council, what I would want to be doing differently is making sure that as councillors and as a council we engage better with the community groups that we are here to represent.
Can I just ask you one question on that as well? Just, and it's possibly the journalist in me that was, you mentioned slightly earlier in your answer that there's a Conservative group meeting which is coming up. Obviously to be a final ward in that particular meeting, but given what the response is tonight, given I can understand there's a response among Conservative councillors as much as there is amongst Lib Dems and Labour. Is there a plan at that meeting to discuss this, and is there a plan to suggest and to come up with an end game from all of this? And can you tell us what it is?
Is there a plan? No, I don't. But
so you're not going into this meeting intent on discussing the town hall?
There will be an update on the town hall from the portfolio holder, because that's
right. Yeah.
Expecting. I have made a number of points here as we've been going through the discussion of things that I think need to be in place before the 2nd of February. And I think that's again, total clarity of the meeting that's coming up from the council's point of view. And I think those are the questions that I know that we've been chatting here about it. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk to I've got Martin in my way. I had to be across the back in mind. So yes, I think we, as elected members, we've come here tonight to listen. We're going to take back what we can do as elected members within our own group.
Thank you. Thank you. Martin, now without using Ian's politics, as he always gets politics into it, yeah, what's your view on the future, given it's not been glorious on any particular party?
Right, can I first of all say that I think Frank was misquoted in terms of the CPO. He indicated that one of the choices the council were looking at was the CPO. He didn't indicate that's the Labour Group's point of view. I should know, I chair the Labour Group, and Ian has pretty fairly reflected the views of the Labour Group this evening, which I concur with. In fact, Frank has written to the leader of the council, challenging her to either step up or resign, and I think that's the view of the Labour Group, that actually this is serious enough to seek the resignation of the leader of the council. As far as the Labour Group is concerned, we are at the moment a smaller number than the Conservatives, therefore we have been pressing over the number of years. I've been back on the council a year, and through that time, at every opportunity we've raising questions, seeking things to be moved forward to get an agreement. And we will continue, it won't be different, we'll continue to do that, but we certainly, if this leadership of the council can't step up, then it needs to go, and we need to see a leadership that actually will move this forward and come to an agreement.
Steve, how are you going to be a better councillor and be on a better council?
I'm not sure that's strictly the question. The question is what
I
am I going to do differently? One thing I'd like to mention is that there are several, at least 2 other elected members in the room, and it'd be interesting to hear their comments about what they might do differently. The situation is not very different from me. We talked about trust earlier. It is the case that we are repeatedly assured, both in the group and externally, that the officers have been instructed to negotiate in good faith to proceed rapidly with this project. So I have to accept that. I can't be expected to distrust my own group and the leader of my group, who is elected democratically within the Conservative Party. So I'm not going to do anything very different.
So you continue to trust over this course of time, we'll continue to trust as this continues?
In a way, it doesn't matter whether I trust or not. I'm not a decision maker in this process, but obviously we will redouble our efforts to encourage everyone involved to progress the project. But in terms of, I should also like to say that I wasn't elected when this project started. I've been a member for over 4 years, and frankly, the voters in Nebworth are not that bothered. It's not top of my email post about the issues in Hitchin. So it is a district facility in the museum. So the whole people refer to this as a Hitchin facility, but it is actually paid for by council taxpayers in Nebworth. I would like to point out that Nebworth has a village hall which is paid for entirely out of precept, paid for by ratepayer council taxpayers in Nebworth, and is not at all subsidised by council taxpayers in the rest of the district, unlike Hitchin and Hall.
Sorry, just to point back on that, Steve. Does it matter, and I think a lot of people may not appreciate the workings of councils and councillors, if you're from a certain area, you take less of an interest in another area because it's not quite geographically, of interest to you? Because it sounds like that's how it works.
Let me put it this way. Very few members of any party have got actively involved in the issues in Nebworth. One of the issues in Nebworth is we have no pubs. They both closed for over a year, and there have been lots of public meetings and Facebook groups and discussions, but it's not something which other members actively get themselves involved in. And I was invited to come here. I really came here to educate myself about the issues involved and hear the parties who are involved. As I keep saying, I'm not an executive member, I'm not making decisions on this, and I think it is a great pity, but I do think actually that in the reasonably near future we will have a functioning, complete Hitchin Town Hall and museum facility.
Thank you. So Steve, you're not even a Conservative, is there any point in asking you then? Not even Conservative, so you've got no say whatsoever.
Clearly, I'm not going to have an opportunity to make an input to the Conservative group meeting. And to be honest, I'm not very sad about that. I wasn't elected by people in Hitchin, but I think this is an important issue for a number of reasons. Firstly, because it's an important thing for the people of Hitchin who are part of the district. And secondly, because the people I represent, people who elected me, aren't terribly happy that the council spent £2 million more on this facility than it set out to. And then they are also not very happy about it. So in terms of what I'm going to do definitely, well, what I'm going to do the same is ever since this process started, I've been of the opinion that we needed to try and make a town hall with community involvement work. I voted for it when the council decided to do that, and I've argued for it for Deputy Opportunity 6. Now I accept that it isn't going to turn out in the way that we all envisaged, and I think that's most regrettable. What I think now we have to do is to get a town hall that works, even if it doesn't have community involvement. So if the leader and the executive member come back to the council and say, we haven't managed to negotiate a deal, you told us to do a deal and we haven't done it, will you vote for a compulsory purchase order? My answer is no, I won't vote for a compulsory purchase order. I think there's two reasons for that. Firstly, I think it's the wrong thing to do. And secondly, I think it will just introduce hundreds of thousands of pounds of additional cost, at least, and months and probably years of delay. We, the council, collectively, gave them some instructions. If they can't achieve it, they should let someone else who can have a go. I think that the leader, if she cannot do this deal on what is one of the biggest council projects, then she needs not to continue to be the leader. If Tony Hunter can't do this deal as executive member, then he needs not to be the executive member. It is a deal that cannot be done. If they can't do it,
So I'll ask the same question. I think it's a very pertinent question, so I'm going to ask that of the three speakers. So Ian, if you want to just answer that first. No, you can stand up there. I'm keeping this. Whether you're red or blue or yellow or purple, there's been failure on the council to get this through. What will you do differently, and what could you have done to actually get this through quicker?
Well, I'm not going to answer. First, I think Martin's picked up the colleague's question about the Labour's view on the compulsory purchase. But I would say four things. There should be an empowered officer, and I will certainly be asking that question tomorrow of Linda Needham and David Scholes to go to those negotiations on the 2nd of February. That's absolutely critical. Second, I'll ask a further question about why we haven't taken up the offer from, if it is correct, from Hitchin Town Hall Limited of an interim agreement that could actually make use of that lift open now. To actually that would, and not in weeks or months' time. We need to make sure, for the first time, get a proper discussion at full council about this. This has been kept in cabinet. Councillors have not been involved. We've been excluded by the leadership. That's wrong. We're your elected representatives. We need to have a proper debate about it, and we need to make sure that, and that's why some of the stuff that's been published recently is really important. Full disclosure of information. It's been too much secrecy, not enough transparency. Get that information and say you are all well informed. You're paying for this, the town hall and museum. You're entitled to know about it. So I will be pressing for a full disclosure of information where there are not problems about commercial or legal. We need that information out there so you can make your own minds up.
Thank you. Just to paraphrase the question, what could you have been doing in the last couple of... Have you done anything in the last couple of years to try and get this done?
Not a lot. I wanted to make a couple of points about some of the cabinet members, if I may, in the broader sense of their roles, because Councillor Tony Hunter, whenever the group that I've been, representing has gone to overview and scrutiny or cabinet, we've always been fobbed off by Councillor Hunter. I mean, when we went to overview and scrutiny committee, we had a number of questions he failed to answer, so we went back to cabinet. And the last financial figure that's been given on the whole cost of the overspend has been 5.8 million, but that was in 2016. So we need a true cost of the overspend. And, you know, it's not just about one member of cabinet, it's about all of them. They don't seem to be capable of delivering this project. And so, therefore, if they can't send the decision makers to the meeting on the 2nd of February, they should all resign. They should all go. That's my view on it. I hope that a deal can be done. I really, really do. And hopefully the decision makers will be there. And, I really hope that the deal can be done. That's it.
Oh, sorry, very quickly, yeah, sorry, David. So just, no, that's okay. Yeah. What will you be doing differently? What could you have done differently?
What could I have done differently? I think it's fair to say, had I known we were getting into this situation 7 years ago, I would not have got involved. I would not have written the financial model. I would not have negotiated with the lawyers. I would not have bought out the debt. I'd actually had a bit of a life. But I do believe in Hitchin. I have lived in Hitchin since I was about 16, so that's just over 50 years. I love this town, and I want that facility finished. I wouldn't have put on all these hours if that wasn't the case. So I hope to God that they can produce somebody on the 2nd that can make decisions. Coming back to your point, yes, I do have relationships and I do speak to certain cabinet members. I won't say who, but I can assure you, and I absolutely firmly believe, if those cabinet members were negotiating with us, we'd have had a deal right now. Unfortunately, we haven't. We have the leader, Linda Needham, and Tony Hunter. There's a lot of animosity, but there are people in cabinet who are quite prepared to rise above that. And there have been discussions behind the scenes, and broadly those people are on board. But we have a personality there, I'm afraid. I will do a deal with anybody. I don't care about personalities. You can be rude to me tomorrow, rude to me today, I don't care. I will do a deal. But there are people there, I'm afraid, who it is very difficult for them to actually sit down and do it. So let's get the deal done on the 2nd with the right people.
Thank you. Question from the floor also. Hold that one.
More I'll take it. Stephen Pike, for my sins, I'm chairman of Hitchin. Better?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Stephen Pike, for my sins, I'm chairman of Hitchin Town Hall Limited. A couple of points I wanted to raise on this, actually. First of all, those attending the meeting on the 2nd, David Gill-Bennett is an authorised officer of Hitchin Town Hall, HDH Finance Limited. I'm chairman and director of HDH Limited, so we are authorised members of our board to attend. I would very much look forward to a decision maker at the 2nd meeting. Otherwise, we're going to be ending up with bouncing to and fro, and that's going to do nobody any good. From our standpoint, and in the interest of transparency, we are really only a paper away, what's it called, a cigarette paper away from doing a deal. And really, what we've tried to do all along is preserve the town hall. Now, what we've reached, as has been said earlier this evening, it's a wonderful benefit that we preserve the fabric of the town hall for use by all of you. But that's not quite the end of it. Because, of course, councils are under huge financial pressure. And what could be round the corner? Weatherspoons. All manner of things can happen to a preserved town hall. So because of that concern, we have been banging on about two things with the council. One is to ensure a hold on its current use, and we've managed to, in negotiation, we've managed to agree with them a 5-year hold on a rolling programme basis. That means in year 1 it's then to year 6, in year 2 it's to year 7, so it's a rolling one. We agreed that in principle in the meetings, and yet when we see the documentation come through, it's not reflected at all. So that's what we'll be standing out for. And secondly, is the definition of community use. All we've got from them is, oh well, surely the Planning Commission definition will be good enough. Well, we've been told planning permissions can be changed like that. So we want to have a really strong definition of community use for all of you. But that's a problem, I think, for the council to give. They have offered putting the town hall on what's known as a community assets register. Now, we've been advised that actually is almost not worth the paper it's printed on, because it can be changed within 6 months. So, if we can achieve that, we're ready to sign a deal now.
Concerned with is that town hall at the moment is effectively slightly crippled by the stage situation, stuff like that. When will the council consider restoring the stage area to its previous state?
Thank you, yeah.
I'd like to understand the gentleman's basis on which he believes the town
Yes.
does it still operate as a stage service?
Not very well, no.
That's the point. Well, so what is the operational parameters of a stage?
As it was originally.
And why was that any better than the stage it's got now? It's able to host
It was better because you could
I think the question's subjective, sir.
accommodate more people.
Do you want to answer? No, so you think there's no problem? You think there's no worry?
If the gentleman can define what the operational
No, he's always told us that the state defence has been
Sorry
reduced.
to interrupt, but the council reached the
Excuse me, can you sit down? Thank you.
No, the stage has been reduced drastically in depth. Did you not notice that?
It's an operational stage. I've been to many events at the town hall. It still operates. I'm still not sure.
We couldn't put on the sort of plays and stuff like that. We couldn't have the Hitchin band there. Well, you shake your head, but all these things. I mean, the town hall has got to get every penny it can, and be as flexible as it can.
I think, look, the stage, it's basically lost, half it's lost, whether you like it or not. And we will not be able, unless the council invest a phenomenal amount of money to move all the equipment and all the machinery that's behind there, okay, somewhere else. So, I think it's Hitchin Town. We didn't want it to happen. We complained, but the reality is we are there, and we can still run venues, or the council can still run venues there. I think that's the. You may not get the full band. It may not be as good as we could, but it's there. We've saved the town hall. Let's be clear. That's the important thing. So let's not. I suggest we don't dwell on those points, but look positive and go forward to get this deal signed.
Okay,
My name is John Morley. I'm a resident of Hitchin. I'm a taxpayer. This meeting has left me with a profound sense of sadness. The affairs seem to be run by the council in a non-professional way. Decisions are being made that are not professionally recorded, apparently, from what a lot of the speakers have said. And frankly, for the amount of money of ours that they are swilling around, this is not good enough. And I would like to urge them to make, the councillors now, sat in front of me, to urge them to make sure that decisions, when they are made, they are clearly recorded, they are based on professional advice from, presumably there are still some professional civil servants left in the council to give opinions about what will fly and what won't fly. But I'm sorry, I'm not very happy with what I've heard tonight.
thank you.
The councillors, not all of them, because let's be fair, there are some good councillors who work very hard, of all parties. But the trouble is, in the majority of the cases, they stand for election, they tell you what they want you to hear, they get elected, and then Bob's your uncle, they go off and do their own thing. A guy came up to me, and this is relevant by the way, you'll see where I'm coming to. A guy came up to me in the Canary Club bar on Christmas Eve, and he wanted to actually thank myself and Liz Whitelock for what we did with the alleyway in Orton. Sorry to hijack the meeting for 30 seconds. But Liz Whitelock isn't here tonight, but I think she was planning to be here. She's a Norton resident for a long time, and we did in 6 weeks what councillors had failed to do in 2 years. We got an unsafe alleyway replaced. We didn't do it because we had an ulterior motive, because we wanted something for ourselves. We wanted safety for the residents. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a disgrace the way the council have acted. It's a disgrace the way they've got in. And some of them are just not fit for purpose, quite frankly. So I back up everything you said.
My name is Mary Marshall. I happen to be a Quaker at Hitchin meeting, and I'm also a member of the Green Party and a resident of Hitchin. We used to trust the council to look after our assets. Now we seem to be having to rely on ourselves. A lot of the, as David Leon Bennett said, a lot of the land was given by the Quaker community a long, long time ago. And that's when councils used to take the long-term view. They used to care for their assets because they held them in trust with the community. Why is this no longer happening? Why isn't that at the forefront of your minds when you do these things?
Sorry, can you just help my answer?
So what is the question? So the question is, what is the future now? What do you think will be the outcome?
Well, nobody in the room can see the outcome. I mean, ideally, though, absolutely agree with the lady that we've got some beautiful assets, whether it's here, whether it's Chandler House, or whatever other assets we're looking at. We have a responsibility to maintain those properties. I absolutely agree, and we've got to do that as economically beneficial to the taxpayer as possible. What do I hope? I hope on the 2nd of February, I hope we're able to sit down, not us, the elected people that are in that meeting, the empowered people that are in that meeting, are able to sit down and actually come to a conclusion and put this saga to an end, and we open up this beautiful asset that was built all these years ago by the Quaker.
Thank you. Claire.
Yes, there are some fantastic assets within Hitchin. I'm not a Hitchin councillor, I'm a rural councillor, but as many Hitchin councillors know, I always say it's my town too, because I come into this town to shop, I come into this town to use the facilities here. Hitchin has benefited greatly over the years, some of the projects and other investments that have gone on. You know, look at the arches, the gym, the swimming pool. A lot of investment has gone in there. This fantastic town. You know, this project has not gone well. At the moment, you know, it's been alluded to. At the moment, things broke down in the development agreement over the wall. You can't go back over the past. I think we just have to look to the future. So let's all hope that when that meeting happens on the 2nd of February, everything is right before the meeting so that we can get the outcome that we all want. And then Hitchin will benefit greatly by having the North Herts Museum that's going to be open for the whole of the district to enjoy. And if you haven't been, and there's about half the people in the room indicated they hadn't been around, as soon as you see those doors open, which I hope will be sometime in February, that's maybe a little bit ambitious, but if I was running the council, I would be trying to make it that it was in February. Go around it because it is a fantastic museum.
Thank you. Martin.
To answer the question first of all, one of the backgrounds that people should be aware of is the financial situation the council finds itself in. And whatever part of it... Okay, the council should make the best, but the overall picture. When I got onto the council in 1979, we got over half of our money in terms of government grants. In the next 2 years, this North Herts District Council will be paying the government as a negative grant. And so every council is in a situation of dealing with it. Stevenage Council does it better, then that's a Labour controlled council, and I've seen some good things there. We could do it better, but that's, in terms of looking after assets, the reason the council is having to move assets out into the community is because of the background, and that's the honest situation that we're in. In terms of the future, I think we're all agreed that if those of us here, that we want to see people making decisions and the right people in the room on the 2nd of February to get this particular saga sorted out.
Steve.
I agree with Martin, certainly in respect of the difficulties created by very tight cash situation the council faces. And that is part of the reason that some public use covenants have been lifted on facilities. It's a great pity. There are also distortions created by the planning system, which has caused land prices to escalate beyond any reasonable level, which has created incentives and an irresistible temptation of councils to dispose of these assets. And it's very pity that some of these facilities granted by the Quakers and others for public use have been lost. But in terms of going forward, I'm optimistic. I think we are, I would argue that we on the Conservative side are trying to do our best. We are not acting in bad faith. We would like to see this thing work for the benefit of residents in all districts. And I am optimistic, and I think that particularly with the pressure created by meetings such as this and the great visibility that the budget will have, there will be enough pressure to get us over the finishing line, which must be pretty close. So I end on a hopeful note.
Thank you. Steve Jarvis.
It's undoubtedly true that the council finds itself under financial pressure. That's because the government decided it should do. But that really isn't an excuse. The council has spent £2 million more on the town hall, it's spent £1 million achieving nothing in Churchgate, and the list goes on. It's not an excuse for not doing the job properly. In fact, it makes it more important to do the job properly. So what do I hope is going to happen? Well, like everyone else, I hope that on the 2nd of February, that we'll see a negotiation where both sides focus on what has to be done to bridge the gap between them, rather than to emphasise the gap. And I hope that there'll be a conclusion. What I also hope, and this may be a rather more optimistic hope, is the council will look back on this affair and think this really wasn't the way in which we should have done this. We really should have recognised that someone earlier described this as a commercial negotiation. And in one respect it is, but in another big respect it isn't. The council was negotiating about providing an asset for the community. It was not negotiating like it does with the supplier of binning tin to get the best commercial deal it could. It should have been trying to get the best deal for the citizens, the residents, for the town. And what I hope that they will reflect on is they need to think about the way in which they operate. They need to think about the way in which everyone in this room views the council. Well, nearly everyone anyway. Which could best be described as not very positive. Now, I don't think that's satisfactory. I think there's got to be an end of the council trying to defend what it's done and recognise that a lot of it isn't right. Now, that's perhaps an uncomfortable thing for them to conclude, but I think it actually shows a great deal more strength to recognise you can get something right and to change it than it does to press on arguing that you've done it all right all along. So that's what I hope will happen. We'll have to see if it does.
Thank you, Ian.
I'll just try to be reasonably brief. I mean, to answer Mary's question, it's so important that we cherish, protect assets, wherever they've come from, with the Quaker community in the past, with buildings like at Charnwood and so on, to actually make them a real valuable community asset. So many things that we can do in Hitchin, and I think I finish with this, Darren. It's that I'm great privilege to be the vice chair of the Hitchin committee. Now, the North Arts Museum is not a Hitchin facility; it's a North Arts thing. But as the vice chair of the Hitchin committee, the chair of the Hitchin, Nicola Harris, is Conservative. I actually think the Hitchin committee works incredibly well as a cross-party organisation, discussing local issues, actually coming to consensus agreements, and I think there's a message in there about actually getting local decisions made by local people. It actually makes for better decisions, it actually brings about a consensus, it brings about less animosity, less arguments, and I'd like to see a lot more of that going forward.
Thank you. What would you like to see as the future, if you can have a say and see how this is going to pan out?
First of all, I don't think that the council should allow themselves any further pay rises. And I'd like to congratulate the only 2 Conservative councillors that joined forces with the Labour and the Liberals in opposing that decision. Good on them. Councillors are elected to serve the people, and they need to remember that. And they've forgotten it. And somewhere along the way they've forgotten what they're supposed to do, so that needs to be somehow brought back around.
The final word for the evening has come to you. You've been involved virtually from the beginning, but how's it going to, how do you feel it's going to end?
Well, I'm sanguine, I have to say. I do hope we can solve it on the 2nd. I think it's essential. I was a little bit concerned about what one of the gentlemen mentioned earlier on about cabinet things were mentioned, that the council can't do this and they can't do this and this. Stephen and myself went to when I was a councillor, we went to the chief executive of Colchester, and he said, when I came in here, I had real problems with my team. He's talking about the officers, the legal people. He said, my biggest challenge, didn't he say this, Stephen, was to actually get them to find a way to do things rather than not do things. And he achieved it, and he's done very, very well there. Okay, that was it. Now, unfortunately, I am still worried that officers are telling us why we can't do things when actually they should be saying, let's try and find a way around this and make it work, not tick the boxes. So if we can get the decision makers on Tuesday, if they can talk positively about things, because our lawyers have told us, and I have great respect for our lawyers, who have a lot of experience in the city about local authorities and charities, are saying this deal, as you presented it, could be signed now by the council. Let's work positively, let's think positively, let's try and get the decision makers there, and let us do a deal for Hitchin and North Hertfordshire. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Let's finish out. We've come to the point where we're going to finish the meeting. Thank you very much. We've gone over the time that was allotted. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's actually come here tonight. I want to thank the panellists who actually come here. They come here as independent people. They're councillors, but they come here as independent people. Thank you to our speakers, to Ian, to Jackie, and to David Lill Bennett. Most importantly, thank you to everyone in the public who've actually come and asked the questions. I think a round of applause for everyone, including yourselves, who actually come out tonight to actually do this. There is a collection understanding that's taking place outside. There's going to be downstairs as well for general funding for the meeting and for the group going forward. But thank you very much for coming here and obviously watch this space. Thank you.
Thank you.